Hi, I'm Matt, and on today's Matt's World DIY, I'm going to make some delicious magic cookie bars. This recipe has been around for decades, but these little cookies are so magically delicious. They're chewy, they're crunchy, they're nutty, they're gooey. It is amazing. So let's get to it. The very first step in getting these magic cookie bars put together is have your oven set to 350 degrees. So preheat the oven to 350. If you haven't roasted or toasted your pecans or your nuts yet, when that gets heated up, throw your pecans into the oven just for about 10 minutes to roast, and about 5 minutes through, rotate them around a little bit, and then take them out after 10 minutes, and then they're going to be ready to go for this recipe. If you don't roast your nuts, then it's okay. But let me tell you, if you do toast or roast your nuts before you put them into your recipe, that nuttiness is going to come through, and they're just really aromatic and just so much better. So I recommend get those nuts roasted. Okay, so 350 degrees on your oven. The next thing you need to do is get your pan prepared. So I have a 9x13 baking pan. Use parchment paper. If you think you can make it through this recipe by just buttering or spraying your pan, and you think you're going to get these babies out of the pan, you've got another thing coming, because they're not going to budge. They are staying in that pan. You absolutely must use parchment paper, some sort of barrier. If you want to use foil, you can use foil. But let me tell you this. Have you ever bitten into a piece of foil? That is not a beautiful sensation whatsoever. So I would advise against foil, because sometimes that could tear and leave a little shard in your whatever you're baking, and then you bite that, and it's just like, oh, just thinking about it sends my brain through the roof right now. So anyway, I have parchment paper. I'm going to get that ready for my pan. Now, another thing is, I think in a previous video, in this video where I did the pecan pie bars, I showed you how to do this little parchment paper trick. So we'll do it again. So what I have is my parchment paper is laid out. It's bigger, a little bit larger than my pan itself. And then all you want to do is do 4 snips on each one of the corners. So here's 1, here's 2, here's 3, and my last one will be right there, 4. Now, so I have 4 little snips, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold my paper in line with those little cuts. Fold my paper, just kind of gives it a guide of how to lay into the pan. And so I have these 2, and then I'm going to have these on the ends as well. And what this does, this is kind of like a magic show today. This does like a little bit of magic in your kitchen. So pull my pan back, and it just lays down in the pan, and it folds so neatly, so nicely into the pan with a little encouragement. And that will create the perfect barrier to keep these magic bars from sticking in your pan. So, and if you wanted to, you can trim this down. I think I'm going to trim it down a little bit. So I'm going to put a little snip here and a little snip here, just as guides for me to know how far down to cut the paper. So here's my parchment paper, here's my pan. I lay it down and fold it around, and it makes a tidy little bed for my magic bars to rest in. That's going to be perfect. That's wonderful. They're going to just lift right out. Be nice. Bam, like magic. Now that I have my oven set, and now that I also have my pan prepared, I can get ready to get my crust started. So I'm going to make a graham cracker crust. You could do a little shortbread crust if you wanted to, if you didn't have graham crackers. The beauty about this recipe is it is very versatile. You can use whatever it is that you like, and if you don't like something, you don't use it. I'm going to get to that point here in just a minute. But I'm using graham crackers. So I'm going to put approximately 12 graham crackers into 12 of these sheets of graham crackers into my food processor, and blend these up, crunch them up. I'm going to process them up, pulverize them, whatever the word is you want to use. I'm going to crush them up, and then we're going to add some butter and some nuts, and we're done with it. To this, I'm going to add about a half a cup of pecans. Now these have been toasted and they're nice and nutty and crunchy, so I'm going to blend those in there as well. Now to that, I'm going to add 1 stick or a half a cup of melted butter. I'm going to drizzle that in. See, mine has cooled off. I need to heat this up a little bit. I'll be right back. There we go. And it's not too hot. You don't want it really super hot. You just want it melted. So it's a half a cup of melted salted butter. If you're using unsalted butter, you can put a dash of salt into your crumbs and it'll be fine. You don't want to blend this too much because then you'll end up with a paste. You still want it to be a bit crumbly, so keep that in mind. Take that out. That looks really, really good. I'm not touching anything until I get those blades out. So I have my graham cracker mixture ready to go into my baking dish. So all you have to do is take it and pour it into your baking dish. And there we go. Spread it out nice and evenly. Then this next step is very important. What you're going to want to do is take the bottom of a measuring cup or a glass that has a flat bottom, take and press your crumb mixture nice and solid. This needs to be very compact. If you don't compact your crust, it is going to be just a crumbly mess whenever you try to serve it up after it's done. To get the edges, just go ahead and use your fingers. My hands are super duper clean, and so I'm just using my fingers to press my crust down in the corners and the edges because I definitely want this to be a nice solid foundation. All right, now my crust is nice and solid, it's compact, and I'm ready to put in the other ingredients for this cookie. So I'm going to take 3/4 of a cup of chocolate chips and then just scatter them into my pan as evenly as possible. Just get it all the way throughout. Then you're going to take 3/4 of a cup of peanut butter chips and put those in there. Now, here's where we talk about what you like, what you don't like, that type of thing. If you don't like peanut butter or you have allergies, you just don't prefer to have peanut butter chips, you could use toffee bits, you could use butterscotch bits, chips, that kind of stuff, whatever it is that you like, or just add more chocolate or add a different kind of chocolate. That could be very interesting. After your chips are laid into your pan evenly and well distributed, we're going to add 1 1/3 cup of sweetened shredded coconut. First of all, thank you so much everyone for your support and for subscribing and your comments. And I've had some wonderful exchanges with people talking about a variety of things in my recipes and stuff that we've done. And I appreciate that so much. It's nice to know that I'm doing something that people appreciate and find some value in. So that is wonderful. I appreciate that. So thank you, everyone. I appreciate you, and I look forward to continued growth on my channel. So thank you. Next, we want to add that 1 cup of pecans. Guess what? I ran out of pecans. So what am I going to do? I could do it without pecans, but I have walnuts on hand, so I roasted a cup of walnuts and I chopped them up, and I like walnuts. So I'm going to put walnuts on the top of my coconut bed of coconut to keep things intact. We need a binding ingredient, and that's where our sweetened condensed milk comes in. You take 1 can and you're going to put this on top, drizzle it over the entire thing, because if you don't whatever you don't cover with this is probably going to remain loose, and we don't want that. So I'm going to try to get as even coverage with this sweetened condensed milk to cover the entire dish. Now, the last thing I want to do is actually top this off with some more chocolate chips, and then I'm going to get this in the oven. All right, so now that I have everything assembled, we're going to put this into our 350-degree oven for 30 minutes, and then we'll come back and check out how things look. That looks perfect. The edges are nice and brown. I can tell that's going to be nice and crunchy, and then the rest of it has some dark spots and stuff too on the inside. This looks like it's going to be great, but we cannot touch this because it is a smoldering lava hot mess that you don't want to put that in your mouth. So we're going to let it rest for about an hour, maybe more, and then we can take it out and cut it. Now, you could put it in the refrigerator. I would let it cool down a little bit before you do that, but I think I'm just going to let it sit at room temperature for a few hours before I come back and chop into it. My magic cookie bars have been cooling at room temperature for over an hour now, and they are very cool to the touch, and it's ready to come out of the pan. So let's see how wonderfully this parchment paper has performed. So I'm just going to tug at this to make sure it lifts out. Looks like it does really easily. So I'm going to pull up one corner, pull my pan, and slide it right out. There you go. It's like magic. Stupid dad joke. All you have to do is peel the paper away just like that. It looks great. Take your knife and let's get to cutting. So these are, let me just start by telling you, these are going to be super duper rich. So my mouth is watering. I'm going to cut my pieces about this size, and look how easily it cuts. Again, this is at room temperature. It's not, I have not refrigerated it or anything like that. I never put it in the refrigerator, and it looks perfect. It looks perfect, and I've got a chocolate chip stuck to my hand. And it cuts very easily. So now that my cookie bars are all cut up into squares, it's time for a taste test. I cannot wait. I'm actually very hungry right now, so anything will be good, but I know that these are going to be super delicious. These magic cookie bars are divine. They are going to disappear like magic. They are so delicious. They're crunchy, they're gooey in the middle. If you like coconut, you're gonna love these, because coconut, chocolate, the caramel-y kind of effect of the condensed milk makes a delicious treat for any time of day, any time of year, any age person. I hope you get a chance to make this recipe. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and like and subscribe to my channel, and also check out some of my other cookies I have on my cookie playlist. See you next time.